Hey everybody, so this is a bike that I worked on the other day. Did a little conversion from a 1-inch threaded to a 1-inch threadless system. As you can see, it has a pretty long quill stem. I think it's 130, maybe 140 millimeters long, so super long and low, and pretty deep drop bars with the 26 millimeter clamp diameter. So the customer wanted something that was going to be a little more comfortable, just from over time the flexibility goes away a little. So, but really super sweet bike. It's a titanium and carbon mix 7. Sure, it's a custom frame, but we decided to go with the 1-inch threadless, like I say, Ritchie fork there and some other bits. Went all new cables and Bontrager. It's a 100 millimeter stem, 7-degree rise, and then a Cane Creek 40 headset. As far as the common stem these days is the 1.8", so we just used one of those reducers there to go down to the 1-inch steer tube. And anyway, we added these Bontrager IsoZone bars that have a little cutout with a high density foam pad that sits in there, and it's got a super shallow drop, so definitely a more comfortable setup. And so yeah, it's I think the bike is, I would guess, somewhere between kind of early to mid 90s or so. So that was, the common type stuff that was available then, and nowadays there's just not quite as many options. I know a lot of purists are going to want to see the different quill stem put on it and whatnot, but with the modern threadless stems, you've got so many more options and handlebars and whatnot. So anyway, this the Campy levers there, they basically go the same way as, or they attach the same way as typically as your Shimano or SRAM. There's just a bolt there, hex bolt, 5 millimeter in this case, that you loosen up and it just backs the clamp off there, and you just slide it off the bars. Sometimes with the curve of that Campy body there, you have to back those off pretty far to get them off, but not a super huge deal. Probably could have took all the cables off first, might have made it a little easier, but anyway, quill stem here, there's that center bolt, you loosen it up and maybe about 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters up, and then sometimes you can just twist the bars sideways, or sometimes you got to give that top bolt a little whack to break that wedge loose, and then it'll come right on out. This one's pretty well maintained, so it just came right on out for me. So we're disassembling the headset. I used the 2 wrenches, kind of a reverse, if you were going to lock it down in place. You want to use a wrench 32 millimeters to hold the adjusting cone, and then another wrench to break loose that lock nut there. So basically got all that apart, and then now we need to remove our cups, get all our cage bearings and all the bits and dust seals and whatnot out of there first, and then we're going to use our Park, I don't know what model tool this is. I'll put some links to the tools and things that I used here, but you'll just pull that tool down till it engages with the top of the cup, and then give it a few smacks to knock the cups right out of the frame there. It gives it nice even place to hit on the edge of the cup there. So now we're gonna install our crown race here. So just want the appropriate bit there to rest against the crown race, and then you got the big piece there to smack it into place. And this one's a little bit stubborn, had to put a little oil on it there to kind of help it out. But basically you'll know when it's on there. Typically the tone of the when you hit it's going to change when it's all the way on there, so you want to visually see no gaps in there, so want it on there nice and square. These Cane Creek headsets, there's 2 lines there. I'll usually just line those up with the center portion of the head tube, and typically I'll press these in one at a time, but the dies there fit perfectly into the cup, so it held everything nice and square as I pressed them both in simultaneously. So once you feel it bottom out to the frame, you don't want to go any further than that. So got all our pieces here mocked up, and got a pretty high spacer stack there. We may not necessarily go this high. We may remove a few and cut the fork down slightly more, but wanted to start out at the maximum safe height, I guess, that was acceptable for this fork. And greasing up the cartridge bearings here. I already got the top one in, greased up, and just using some waterproof military grease here. And that's, one nice thing with these cartridge bearings is it's super easy to do maintenance on the bike. Periodically, you may annually, if you're riding a lot, pull this whole system apart and just wipe everything down, inspect the bearings. If they feel pitted, you can just put new cartridge bearings in, but otherwise it's super easy just to wipe everything off the exterior of the bearings with a rag and put it all back together. Got our little reducer there in the stem, and we'll just assemble it like a typical threadless setup. Tighten our preload cap and bolt there, and off camera I press the star nut into the steer tube there. So I'll link up another video of the different retention systems. Some are going to use like an expansion plug if it's carbon. Most of your aluminum or chromoly steer tubes will use a star-fangled nut there, so I didn't get too in depth in that. And this was the again the handlebar there that we used. I didn't get too in depth with the cable, routing up the cables and wrapping the bars, but this is just kind of a little highlight of that's the little isozone pads there, and just kind of fits in that there's a little pocket there where that kind of rests, kind of a flat spot. Rest your hands, and that just kind of sits right in there. But anyway, the bike came out pretty sweet. Rode it around, rides super smooth. Like I say, that's probably the max height that we would run. We'll do a little fit with the customer, and we may knock it down a notch or switch the spacers and let him try it out and whatever. But anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you found the video interesting. Please consider subscribing if you're not already a subscriber, and see you guys next time.